Birdhaven manufactures birdhouses made out of recycled wood. Last month, the company produced 800 birdhouses using 450 square meters of recycled wood. The total cost of the wood was $22.50. The company's standard for one birdhouse is 0.5 square meters of wood at a cost of $5 per square meter. What cost for wood should have been incurred to make 800 birdhouses? How much greater or less is this than the cost that was incurred? So when they say what should have been incurred is the company's standard is what they expect. So that's what it should have been. That's what their analysis tells them. So they should have made, at 800 birdhouses, they should have used half a square meter per birdhouse, and it should have cost $5 per square meter. So 800 birdhouses uses half of a meter. That means 400 times 5. 400 times 5 is $2,000. How much greater or less is this than the cost that was incurred? Well, the cost that was actually incurred was $22,250. So the actual cost, $250 actual cost, is greater than what should have been the cost. Should have been the cost. So that is a problem. This is an unfavorable. This is unfavorable. Because if our company is saying, and our analysis tells us that it should cost $2,000 and we spent $22.50, well, now we spent $250 more. So now we have to determine why that we got this unfavorable result. So we need to break down the difference computed in requirement 1 into a materials price variance or a materials quantity variance. So what this is saying is the materials price, we could have got our materials at a bad price, or we could have wasted materials and we could have just had a manufacturing error. So the variance is quantity is, well, did we use what we were supposed to use? Where the price is, did we spend what we were supposed to spend on the price? So starting with the materials price variance, we've got our materials price variance calculation. So materials price variance equals our actual quantity purchased. So our actual quantity purchased times actual price per unit minus standard price per unit. All right. So let's enter this formula in. We've got an actual quantity purchased. What we used here is 450 square meters. So we actually used 450 square meters. We'll multiply that by the actual price per unit. So if we used, to determine that, so we need to determine what we actually used per unit. So we spent $22.50. We actually used $4.50. So $22.50 divided by $4.50. And we get our minus our standard price, and our standard price per unit is set at $5. $22.50 divided by $4.50 equals $5 minus $5. So our actual materials price variance is 0. So what does that mean? That means that we spent on our purchase exactly what we were supposed to. Not more, not less. That tells me that this $250 cost greater is going to come from our material quantity variance. So let's have a look at our materials quantity variance. The formula for that is going to be our standard price times our actual quantity used minus standard quantity used. So standard price times our actual quantity used minus our standard quantity used. So what does that look like? Our standard price is $0. Pardon me, $5. $5 per unit. That's a 5. Times actual quantity used, which was 450 square meters, minus our standard quantity. So for 800 bird boxes, we're supposed to use half per bird box, so we get 400. So what we have is 5 times 450 minus 400, 5 times 50, or a $250 variance, which is exactly what our cost overrun was. So after our analysis, we can see that our materials quantity variance, that we were not using the correct amount of material for each unit, and we were wasting some, which caused a $250 unfavorable variance after doing our analysis.